Alright, in this lesson we're going to be learning a little bit about notations in math. Now what I would like to do is to start with something that you're familiar with as far as those notations, and that would be texting. Now we're going to look at the definition first. The notation is an activity of representing something by a special system of marks or characters. Not just one definition of notations. Now again, like I said, one of them that you're probably familiar with is our texting. LOL, you probably know what that means. Lots of laughs. TYFYC, you may not know, says thank you for the comment, is what that means. Now I looked this up. There are so many different abbreviations for texting. It's unbelievable. But if you look, some of these were more common are more common to us than others. IDK, I don't know. TYS, told you so. Continue down here, we have BFF, you probably know what that means, best friends forever. TYVM, thank you very much. And then TTYL, so talk to you later. So some of these on the left you're probably more familiar with. Now the ones on the right, not so familiar with. But they all are meant to make our lives easier when texting. It's a lot easier to type LOL than it is lots of laughs, and so on and so forth with the rest of those. Well, if we look at notations in math, so notations when we're representing numbers, one that you are probably familiar with to this point is scientific notation. So you can represent 2 million by 2 times 10 to the 6. And it helps us, scientific notation helps us write really big numbers and really small numbers in a simpler form. So that's what scientific notation helps us do. Now if we go on to what we are looking at in this lesson, we're going to be looking at some different types of notations. So we're going to add 2 or 3 or 4 more types of notations to our repertoire so we can use them in this lesson. So I'm looking at this number line. It says you can represent the same set of numbers in different ways. So here we have a number line representing a set of numbers. One way you can represent that obviously is in words. So we can write this as the set of numbers greater than or equal to -2 and less than 0, or greater than or equal to 1. So if we continue down here, another type of notation is represented by what's called interval notation. Now if you are familiar with track at all, intervals have a starting point and an ending point. So in this case, when we're writing it in interval notation, a set of numbers in interval notation, the only thing we're concerned about is the starting point and the ending point. Starting point, ending point. Now, infinity isn't actually an ending point, but it would show that it continues forever in that direction. So, for interval notation, you're only concerned about the starting point and ending points. Now, notice that sometimes you include the starting point, sometimes you don't. And that's where you get these brackets from down here. So you see this bracket here, and then over here you see a parenthesis. The bracket represents that shows that you include the endpoint. The parentheses shows that you're not including it, and you can see that if you go back up here to the graph, you can see that represented by a darkened circle or an open circle. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we have what's called set builder notation. Now in set builder notation, you have to name the set using a variable or a letter. In this case, they used the letter X that we have here. And then they draw a line here. That line, basically the only thing that a line is for is to separate the X from how you're actually representing that set of numbers. So to the left-hand side just shows the name. To the right-hand side shows what the value of the number is. So x is greater than or equal to -2, but less than 0. And notice, this is all representing what's on this number line up here. And the x is greater than 1. That represents that other portion of the number line. Well, then we have one more notation here. This one you may be familiar with part of the term here, roster notation. You may be familiar with the term roster. If you're on any kind of a sports team or any kind of a team, a roster just represents, it's a list of every person on that team. So basically in math, it means the same kind of thing. You're listing every number in that set of numbers. Every number that's in that set of numbers. So if you are looking at roster notation of the set of natural numbers, you would represent it as we have here to the right. Starts with 1, 2, 3, and you have the brackets there, and then the three little dots can show that it continues forever, because natural numbers continue forever in that direction, so it's positive direction. So now there are some numbers that you cannot write in roster notation. For example, what we have up here on this number line, we would not be able to write in roster notation, because if you look at, for example, what we have here, from 1, even just 1 to 5, there are so many numbers that are in between 1 and 5. You could start with 1, 1.01, 1.02, and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of numbers in there that you cannot, you wouldn't be able to find them all. So those are some different notations that you will see in this section. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me through the message system. Have a great day.